Hello and welcome to the British Strength Podcast, the only podcast on earth hosted by the only 3 British citizens ever to be ordained as starting strength coaches. I am Jack Bissett, that is Byron Johnston, and that is Carl Ragavan, and we are talking everything barbells and strength. And today we are going to talk about what strength is and why it's important. Carl,
Yes.
what is strength?
It is the ability to produce force against an external resistance.
That line has been
Beautiful.
drilled in
Textbook,
over and over
textbook.
again. Yeah. But how many people do you think in the professional fitness circuit that use words like strength and power like it's exactly the same thing? Like it's just interchangeable and don't understand that those are separate things and don't even have a really good explanation. When they talk about strength this and strength that, they don't even have that line. I see it a lot. Do you?
Yeah, I think Mark Ripto, has done a really good job of thinking and sitting down and really understanding what it is that we're trying to do in the weight room. And I don't think he gets enough credit for that definition because it's so clean and to the point that it's undisputable, really.
And
Yeah.
I would say the further away you get from that definition, usually the worse your training gets.
100%.
Yeah.
Now, why is it important to be strong, Byron? Why is it important?
Well, there's upfront the biological reasons that again have been covered in detail in articles and podcasts. So one thing that many doctors all agree upon is yes, you should be doing some physical activity. And when it comes down to what that is, we've got an argument on the philosophy that we have. We know that strength training offers things that other systems cannot offer because of the formulation of them. So it fundamentally changes the body on a structural level in terms of muscle mass, bone density, to the connective tissue. These systems of the body are changed at a structural level in a way that other systems, which we might get into later, can't really replicate that, although their literature may claim to.
I think also that the hidden gem, which always kind of clients stumble on and they still kind of scratch their head, is it trains your mind as well. Strength training is really fucking hard. And the process of going in and lifting heavier weights than you did before and eating enough food and sleeping enough, all that recovery stuff is really, really hard. And training your mind to get stronger and have a result that you're waiting for, you're kind of putting investments in this day's performance because, in 6 months from now, this is the result you want to get. So waiting that amount of time and dealing with hard things, it trains your mind like something no other.
Yeah, you could look at it as a meta skill, meaning that once you've once you've brought that into your life, a meta skill affects all other skills, makes other things better for having that ability. And that's, I think, an important point to make about it. So again, if you're on the sports field, et cetera, it enhances your capability there or elsewhere.
I was just about to say, Byron.
Cool.
But what if our dear listener is not interested in being an powerlifter? Why should they want to lift weights to get strong? Can't they?
Yeah.
Why is that important?
Well, if I may, I'd like to take a step back because one of the first things I want to deal. What was that squeaking sound?
That was my chair.
Fucking hell! Can we edit that out, Jack?
No,
I thought
we're
Carl.
live.
I thought Carl had let one. I thought Carl had let one go. All right, we'll see if we can clip that out.
My mic is on.
Yeah.
Whenever I'm not talking, I try and put my mic on.
This is getting clipped. It's going straight on Instagram, Byron.
Okay, great. Okay, amazing. Okay.
How dare you assume the gas was mine? How dare you?
What were we discussing?
Why, if someone's not interested in being an powerlifter, should they go and lift weights? Like like Carl saying, oh yeah, it's good for your mentality, it's good for your discipline, all these things, but can't I get that somewhere else without having to be a powerlifter?
Yeah, I think we got to separate out multiple things here. So the first thing to realize is when you see us in the gym, like people come up all the time and say, "Oh, are you powerlifting?" Not really. It may look like that to someone who's not had a good look at it. With the kind of weights we can go to, it may look like a competitive powerlifter, but actually, we're not necessarily concerned with that outcome. We don't need to take the body to those tolerance ranges where winning is more important than anything, so we can keep people in a healthy weight range. A lot of people that come to me are interested in healthy aging, so they want to know what is the exercise prescription for an adult. They're not in their 20s anymore. What should they be doing now they're in their sort of 40s, 50s and 60s? And the reason I wanted to take a step back on it, away from anything to do with sports, and this is a conversation I have with people all the time, is many people I deal with weren't necessarily that sporting, powerlifting aside, any sports, weren't particularly sporty in school. And therefore they think in their mind, lots of things are not on the table for them. They can't do them. They were never very fast or explosive or powerful, didn't get picked for sports teams. But then I say to them, well, this is the one thing that you absolutely can do. You don't need to have that to do the majority of the work we do and get all the benefits from it. I myself wasn't on a lot of the sports teams in school, but I've been able to make significant changes to my body and to the force I can produce and to the strength I have, being naturally a very tall, very slim kind of guy. So this lends itself well to being very teachable, very, very learnable by people who didn't get picked for the sports teams, don't think they're particularly athletic, know they should be doing something. This is the answer.
I also just want to add there was another coach who mentioned this, which I thought was really profound. In life, a lot of people, the credo and the mantra is do your best, try your hardest, and you're going to be successful. In life, that doesn't really work. Like sometimes things are more gray. But in strength training, if you do those things, if you work your ass off and you try your best, you will get results no matter who you are. Anyone, regardless of your athleticism, regardless of your sports background, anyone can get stronger.
Yeah, agreed. I've seen that over and over again with everyone I've worked with.
But what use, gentlemen, is it being strong in the gym? Huh? Like, okay, I can go and I can deadlift and I can squat and I can do some overhead presses, but what use is that to me in my day-to-day life? Don't I need some functional training? Don't I need some functional strength developed here?
So basically, with the lifts that we train, which is bending your knees, doing a squat, putting something over your head, doing a press, picking something off the floor, doing a deadlift, pushing something away from you, doing a bench press, catching something onto your shoulders, which is a power clean, and then pulling yourself up towards something, which is a chin up. All those lifts are so general and non-specific. You basically cross the lines of every muscle group. You train every single muscle fiber in your body. So you don't need to blur the lines of, I need to focus on picking up shopping bags up 12 flights of stairs. You don't need to do it that specific to do like life training. You just need to do all those lifts that I mentioned because they're so general and non-specific. They cover everything to make your whole body as a system stronger. Because we have realized, unlike the bodybuilding community who just train muscle groups and want to focus on building individual muscles, like we're training like bits of a car, like you pull something out and put it back in. We've realized that the deadlift trains all the muscles that you need to have a strong back, posterior chain, all of those things. The same with a press. You don't need to isolate your delts. You're going to have big and strong shoulders if you have a big press. So our focus is on building movement patterns, adding weight to those things, and it systematically makes you stronger as a whole being. You don't have to break everything down.
Mm-hmm. And yet the majority of the industry thinks that way, Carl. They think about it's leg day, we're going to do the abs today, these kind of things. And so I think the thing that I get from this when we meet a client for the first time and sort of start explaining what we're doing in this approach is that we fundamentally help them formulate a new way of thinking about how the body works. So it's not just, we're not just showing some exercises, because again, you can go and get any personal trainer to show you some exercises, but we've actually formulated a way of thinking that we want to impart to the person so they can radically see this different approach to how to condition and how to transform the body. Jack, you want to add in something there?
Well, I think a lot of that circles back to the definition that Carl gave us right at the start, the ability to produce force against an external resistance. Every single physical attribute that you possess involves force production, your ability to balance, your precision, your accuracy, your coordination, your speed, your power, any of these physical or athletic characteristics that people like to talk about when it comes to training or gym or just general life, all of them have a force production component because they all involve you using your body to do something. And so if you improve your ability to produce force, you will therefore, to a degree, improve your ability to do all of those things as well. That's why it's like it's the master value. If you think about it like a skill tree in a video game, putting points into stats, putting points into strength brings everything else up too.
Yeah, but let's get back to talking about Beachbody physique. So,
well, you are looking pretty sexy, Byron, I must say.
I'm only bringing this up partly to lighten the thing a little bit, but still people come in, they've still got concerns about how they look. You know what? I'm of opinion of, okay, in the previous podcast, I talked about my 10 years lost in the wilderness, all right? Doing all the wrong things, spending time, investing time and money. And I think one of the things that came true for me was that if there is a concern around someone changing how they look in terms of like a physique outcome, then the best way to do it is to get strong with barbells, okay, as a natural lifter. And when I say natural, I mean in the absence of like performance enhancing drugs and stuff. So that sorts that out as well. So we're dealing with the why of doing this. So if there's any part of you, the listener, that like, okay, wants to look better, you're underweight, you want to get bigger, you're overweight, you want to reduce into a healthy weight range and look better for it, this is the way that's going to do that, all right? This is what I found to be the truth. And I said to myself, when I find that truth, I need to tell everybody, because I was doing the wrong things for 10 years.
Yeah, Rip has said this time and time again. I feel like it's he's been flogging a dead horse recently in terms of this exact problem. Is the industry has led us to believe that sets of doing reps of 8 to 12 reps, 3 sets, whatever the rep scheme is, but basically high reps. For some reason, we have been brainwashed to believe that high reps builds muscle, whereas what we've realized, we've all done this because we've all gained a serious amount of weight and we've all got a hell of a lot stronger. If you focus on doing lower reps, which is 5 reps, we've realized that 5 reps works really well. If you take your squat from, let's say, 60 kilos to 180 kilos, and you can do sets of 5, that's a big change. You go from 1 plate to 4 plates, and that's usually when you start to get recognized as being strong. And that misconception is really hard for, especially the male population, to understand that is what happens. You make a muscle stronger, it will become bigger. Mm-hmm. Whereas, for some reason, it's just like we're going to be stuck at sets of 12 forever. And the funny thing is, those guys don't look bigger, right? You see those guys week in, week out, years. I'm talking, sometimes I've been in different Globo gyms, as in a commercial gym. And those guys who do sets of 12, they have nothing to show for it, Gaining 5 kilos should be something you should be able to do in a year or like 6 months easy, but you barely see that happen. And it's like, why aren't they even gaining 5 kilos? And you're just like, that training's not actually producing the stress they think it is. but the magazines have made them believe that this is what happens.
Yes, I know I don't want to get too off topic, but as you brought it up, there is this really strong belief out there that when people start dieting, that they're going to suddenly become bigger. I call it, it's like the smaller to bigger paradox. And they're like, I'm going to get really jacked and I'm going to go and do 8 to 10 reps. That's where hypertrophy is. And I'm going to go on this diet. So, and they think what I have to get across here is that dieting, we just call it cutting in the industry. So cutting is us making you smaller. Okay, so if you're restricting calories, you're not getting bigger, you're going to get smaller. We're literally trying to get you smaller. Okay, so you won't get bigger for trying to get smaller. That's the paradox. But people still believe that that's what they need to lift high. They need to lift lighter weights for higher amounts of reps and reduce calories, and they're going to get bigger. And I'm like, no, we'll shrink you. It's the opposite. So when does that work? I mean, I think when you're dealing with powerful drugs like steroids, and I see this regularly in gyms when I go into like commercial gyms, guys that really are massive, and I look across there, they're always in the dumbbell section, and they're on like rep 17 of their set of 25 with like, the 15 kg dumbbell or something. And I'm looking at, and they look huge, and I'm like, well, what's missing from this picture? Know what I mean?
Yeah, it's the steroids. I think that is a problem, right? Men's Health, those kind of fitness magazines, and the guys who are the big juice heads in the gym, the picture is steroids. They don't show you how much they're pinning themselves with all these anabolic steroids. Whereas when you're a natural lifter, the rules don't apply to you. This whole bullshit of doing high reps, it's not going to make you grow, because if it did, all three of us would be doing that to make us get bigger and stronger. But 8 to 12s don't make you bigger, they don't make you stronger.
Yeah, absolutely. And we can even we can take that formula out even further to look at people who do extremely high repetitions of things, like cyclists and runners, massive amounts of strides, massive amounts of stroke on the pedal, or the rowers won't necessarily, for doing those kind of distances, look absolutely, Ronnie Coleman jacked.
Nobody wants a runner's physique. Nobody wants a runner's physique. Not even runners want to look like runners.
I don't know. We'll have to get one on the podcast and ask the questions. I don't know. I knew one once, but it's been a long time. I don't seem to magnetize them towards me that often.
Well, it's something that I think is underappreciated about strength is that thing of building muscle. There's to my mind, there's 3 ways that anyone gets stronger. Mm-hmm. And by that I mean they increase the weight on the bar, right? The first is their technique. An improvement in efficiency will allow them to lift more weight. So if they learn how to squat correctly, their numbers are going to go up. The second is, neurological adaptations. But that's not a huge part of the picture. It's a small piece of the pie. The main thing is that your muscles get bigger. And people always get that backwards. Then they think, well, if I'm going to have to get stronger, I'm going to have my technique, and then I'm going to have to make my muscles bigger, so I should do hypertrophy. But they're looking at it the wrong way. It's that if I get stronger, my muscles will have grown, because that's how muscles get stronger.
Yes, we should just call that hypertrophy now. So if people want to talk about hypertrophy, it is where we are. That is where the hypertrophy lives.
We are doing the hypertrophy by taking your squat from 100 kilograms to 180 kilograms. And that is kilograms, Americans. Your legs will get bigger. All right?
Yes.
There's no 2 ways about it.
Yes, and then this won't be true of all cases, but in the majority of cases, this will be true. If we take a body weight reading on day 1, and then however many months it took for that, the target you gave there, Jack, whatever that was, weeks or months, do another body weight reading, should be heavier as well, okay, in almost all cases. So there's some cases where that's not the case, but generally that is. So again, the hypertrophy is heavier, bigger. And now that we've scared the women, I'd like to just put their minds at rest. I don't want to scare the ladies off. Who wants to discuss this? Because you start saying bigger muscles, and you know what happens to the ladies? They panic. But I don't want them to panic.
Well, I'll take a stab at the women first.
Okay.
At the women folk.
It's a poor choice of words there, Jack.
Jack, please rephrase. Please rephrase.
It's a London term of phrase, I believe. Now, ladies, you are not gonna get jacked and yoked and massive and huge because you start lifting weights. Most guys aren't gonna get jacked and yoked and massive and huge by lifting weights. You have to pursue that deliberately with extreme aggression for years. If you, little lady who's listening to this, starts lifting weights, you're gonna get stronger, you're gonna feel better, you're gonna look better, but you are not going to look like a man. You would need, quite frankly, biblical amounts of drugs to make that happen to you. And you're not going to take those drugs. We're not going to tell you to take those drugs. All that will happen is that you will look better, and you'll perform better, and you'll feel better, and you'll be stronger. You ain't going to get bulky.
Mm-hmm.
To add to that, one of the things that I think people forget about weight training and getting stronger is the thing that women are usually looking for is more curves and making their physique look more lean. And what that basically means is you need more muscle, right? Yeah. And the side effect of having more muscle mass, if you do get bigger and stronger, guess what happens to your food? All those yummy little treats, all those chocolates, all those little things that you love to eat, because you've got these huge muscles that are just chomping for calories. It doesn't matter if it's chocolate or pizza or whatever it is. Your body will want to suck that in and use it for fuel. So not only will it make you look more attractive because muscle is sexy, you'll actually be able to have a much more fun and realistic diet because eating, quote unquote, the stuff you shouldn't, you just churn through it because muscle is, you know, one of those things where it's a high resource fuel. It needs sleep and it needs food. And sometimes a little chocolate and this and that, a burger here and there, boom, it's actually going to be a benefit. So that is another key thing which I think women stress about with training is the food stuff. And having more muscle, you can have a lot more fun with your diet.
Yeah. I mean, I've dealt with cases, I don't deal with a lot of them, but I've dealt with cases of disordered eating in the past. And this is literally a whole bracket of conversation in itself. But one thing I have found is fundamentally, when we're dealing with strength training, we're focusing on what your body can do more than just how it looks. And so if you've got cases with people who've really struggled with eating and they've hyper focused on how they look, you bring them into strength training, all the metrics are different, the whole thing feels different, and their relationship with themselves starts to change. Their relationship with their body starts to change, and they end up moving just naturally in this healthy direction because their focus is pointed in a healthier place for them. So as a proxy, this kind of corrects a lot of other issues as well that really affect or have affected ladies that I've dealt with in the past. Certainly, they either know someone or they've had it themselves or they're aware of it. So the thing that one of the number one words that ladies use to me is the word toned. I want to be toned. Muscle tone itself has got a specific anatomical meaning, which we don't need to worry about for now. But I understand the meaning of the word toned is basically looking nice and athletic in the absence of too much fat where I don't want it that looks unflattering. And again, the way to develop that toned, muscular, athletic look, and I mean that in flattering proportions for a lady, is resistance training, is developing force production. And then everything after that is just eating sensibly, it's just managing, eating intelligently, having a good relationship with food. And that's it. Those are the two balances that make the predominant difference in getting toned and looking nice.
Every single woman I've ever coached has loved her physique after several months of training, and has also loved the fact that she can now do pull-ups and is strong enough to do reps of push-ups, which she couldn't do before. It's a win-win. You're stronger, you're performing better, and as a result, you look better. There's literally no downside. And there's one thing that we haven't touched on yet.
Go on.
Which, very simply, lifting weights is fun as fuck. It's It is super enjoyable. It is an inherently cool and fun activity. Hoisting big weights is awesome. And that's true for everybody. It doesn't matter about the absolute weight. Going into the gym and attempting a big squat or a big deadlift that you're not sure you can do, and getting in there and smashing it feels amazing. And there's nothing quite like it in the fitness world, and I would recommend everybody gives it a go because it is genuinely awesome. It's fun. It's really, really cool. And I think we'd all agree with that. Like, I love lifting weights.
Yeah. It's so true. The other thing I've seen with clients when they get a bit into like 30s, 40s and beyond is in life, they've hit a lot of PRs. Like they've hit the become a company owner PR or get the manager position, get the car they always wanted PR, go on the holiday, the travel, they've bought the house PR. They've hit all these PRs in life and they kind of think, well, that's it. Okay, I've done all these PRs now. And then they suddenly find this barbell training. And all of a sudden, there's all these PRs that are just waiting. And it's like they've gone back to being 20 again. Like it just brings this like vitality into their life. They get excited about something again. And I've seen that over and over again. And from a coach's perspective, it's amazing because you can just lead them to this amazing journey they're going to go through. You know, they only get more excited as this comes in, especially on a linear progression.
Yeah. So I'll add to that especially the older population that I've trained, the older demographic of lifters, meaning anyone who's like 50, 60 and beyond, that demographic, again, like you say, the ones who don't have an athletic background, who've always second guessed themselves for being capable, when they actually get stronger, they can do stuff which they never thought they could, like all the wood that they're going to get delivered that they bring into their house with no help, you know, which is on pallets of stores, they can just bring that in by themselves and they're like, I moved all that wood by myself and I'm good. Yeah. Whereas, you know, things which they might have had to drag across the floor because it was so heavy, they can just manhandle and just put around. So just being that more capable is from strength training.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I'd just like to say one thing. I think we're going to wrap up soon, but if anyone's listening to this podcast, if we haven't said it, I'm interested to hear what is your why. Like, give us a comment in the notes and tell me why it means so much to you. Because I love reading stuff. Like I love stories from my clients telling me about how it changed their life. Tell me what your why is. I'd love to read it. I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, we all would. That'd be really cool. Yeah. If there are particularly good stories, we'll read them out on the podcast. And
I'm up for that.
You can be almost as famous as we are.
Almost.
Well, if that hasn't convinced you to start strength training, basically nothing will. You're a lost hope. But if you are interested in strength training, tune in for the next episode because we're going to start talking about how to go about getting strong and what that looks like. Now, if you want information or you want to contact any of us, you can get in touch. Byron, how can people reach you?
Yeah, just head over to your favorite website search engine. Just type in Strength Revolution. My website is strengthrevolution.org, or just put my name into Google and I'll come up there and you'll find me no problem that way.
Carl?
I'm Beautiful Strength on all the channels. BEA Beautiful Strength. Find me there everywhere.
And I am Jack_Cast Iron Strength on Instagram, but you know that because you already follow me. And my website is castironstrength.co.uk. But you already know that because it's in your favourites bar. So we'll talk soon. Thank you for listening to this second episode of the British Strength Podcast. We'll talk to you soon.